Now that we've finished all our calculations for the gas data set, we're going to graph. The first one we need to graph is the pressure on the x-axis and z, the compressibility factor, on the y-axis. And so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab my pressure. And it doesn't matter whether you get the ones in pascals or kilopascals. And my z, and I grabbed both of these columns that are non-contiguous by using the control or command key and my mouse. And now I want to come over and insert a chart. I want the scatter plot, and I want the ones just with markers. And I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way so we can actually see what happens. And I'm going to come down and put it on scale. I need to add my chart element so I don't forget what the heck it is that I am doing. And so this axis title is Z, and this axis title is pressure in pascals. And so I can call this Z versus P. And you actually need to title these because there's a whole bunch of data here that you are being asked to graph. So I can click off of that. When I click on the data set, it will actually tell me that I have both P and Z involved. And the one thing you have to do is make sure you actually have the correct numbers on the correct axes. The pressure values in pascals are enormous, and that actually matches the numbers on my x-axis. And my Z goes from about 1 to 5 something. So it does look like I have these the right way around, and so that's a really good thing. Now, one of the things we're asked to do is that we have two regions in Z versus P, so it looks like it goes down and turns around and comes back up. And we're asked to graph them separately. There are a couple of ways that you can do this. And so one of them is to just grab the data that you are interested in and graph it. And so I will go ahead and do that. I think maybe I want the first 5 points or something, and I need the corresponding pressure. Now I'm going to insert a scatter plot, and there we have it. So again, this is Z versus low pressure. And so when I come down and look at this, I have Z on my y-axis, P on my z-axis, and that's exactly what I wanted. And then I can label my axes, but I can also come up and let me see which ones I grabbed there. So I can grab the rest of the P and Z data to make a second graph. So I need to insert a chart. I want the scatter plot and just the markers. So just note, I'm going to come down and actually have a look at these. At low pressure, Z decreases with increasing pressure, and at high pressure, it increases with increasing pressure. And so I'm going to just shove this over here. Now, the next one I want, and I actually want to show you how to do this because it requires us to actually change the data set. So I'm going to move my original Z versus P out of the way. This one is where I want Z versus N divided by V. So I'll just grab it all and go to make a graph. Chart, scatter plot, just the markers. And now it's got my Z values on the x-axis and my N divided by V values on my y-axis. And that's not what I wanted. I actually wanted it the other way around. So first, I'm going to come up and add the chart elements and remind myself what I am aiming for. And so here, what I really want is N divided by V. And over on the y-axis, what I really do want is Z. And so here what I really want is Z versus N divided by V. And there is a way to actually make this change, and so I wanted to show you how to do this. First, I'm going to need to move the graph off of the values so I can actually see them, and I'll show them why. I'm going to select the data with a left click, and then with a right click bring up the dialog box. I want to select the data. It's actually selected, but what I really need to do is edit the data. I can either type in the name of the file or the data, which I don't really need to do because I just did that in the title of the graph. But when I click on the little icon here for the x-axis, it's telling me it's grabbed the z values, and all I have to do is highlight the n divided by v values and then click the little icon again. And now I have to change the y values from n divided by v to z. And so I'm going to just highlight those with my mouse. And now I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to click OK again. And that's going to take me back to my graph. Oh, and now let's see. On the left-hand side, my y values go from 1 to 5 something. Those are my z values. And my n divided by v values go from 40 to 37,000 something, and that's what it looks like along the x-axis. So it looks like I have managed to actually snag the right data and then invert the two columns, because remember, whatever's in the leftmost column, Excel automatically thinks you want on the x-axis, and that is not always true. So now you need to finish making the graphs for argon, hydrogen, methane, hydrogen iodide, and the assignment actually has the list of all of the graphs that you need to construct.